Hello there, this is Alana Tuckey, lead faculty for Math 131. And in this Math 131 project tutorial video, I'm going to show you how to use Excel 2013 to do part 3 of your project. That's the part where you're going to create 3 scatter diagrams and find the trend line and R-squared for each one of them, your regression line in other words. Now, this is Excel 2013, so it's the one that looks like this. So if your Excel looks like this, which it would on a campus computer, for example, this is the video you want. If your Excel looks like the Excel that I used in the first tutorial when I made the table, then you're going to want to use the other video, which uses Excel 2010 to make graphs that look like this. And we're about to make graphs that look like this again, but in this more modern Excel. All right, so if you look back at the project, it says it wants you to create 3 scatter diagrams. So that's our first mission. We're going to take our data set and make 3 scatter diagrams. Of course, I wouldn't want to do your data set because that would be cheating. So I'm going to use this data set, which is the height and arm spans of various cartoon characters. Made up, of course. So I'm going to click Insert, and you click Chart. And you want to pick this top left one right here. There it is. Right? You're just going to do it over and over. However, you're going to modify it as you go. So for your particular one for population density, you're going to highlight your T and your people per square mile, click Insert, click Chart, and then you're going to do a whole bunch of work in here and modify it. Now I'll show you how to do the modified work, but you'll have to apply what you're learning to your particular problem. All right, so now over here we have some options, and we're interested in both of these two, the top one and the middle one. So I'm going to click on the middle one first. And this allows you to quickly pick a different kind of style. So if you wanted one that looks more like that, or more like this, or more like, let's see, this, you can pick one of these. However, I would not recommend choosing this one. And it's because you're going to have to print this out and have your instructor read it. And these can be kind of hard to read and hard on your printer to print out. So you're better off with one that's got a white background and some dots in it. You can fiddle around with whichever one makes you happy. I'll put this one in. I like that one. Okay. So if I do that, then I've got that. Oh, I should have shown you. If you click off of it, that's okay. You can just click back on, click on this, click on color. You can actually pick different colors. So I can pick this color scheme right here, or this color scheme right here. Monochromatic, meaning all one color. All right, so there we go. I've got my color option. I got my style option. Then I'm going to click on the plus sign. And I want to add in axis titles because I need a horizontal axis title and a vertical axis title. Right, if you click over here, you can see you're turning both of them in, which is good. That's what you want. So here they are, little bitty guys down here. So I'm going to highlight them, axis titles, and I'm going to type in what they are. So for me, my X is height, and of course I add in units because this is a math class. Always got to have units. And then over here, this was arm span. And of course I add in units if I have them, which I do. So there's arm span. Now these are really kind of tiny. So I'm going to click on these and go to home and kind of make them 11 and bold. That'll make it a little bit easier to read. We'll do the same over here. Home, 11, and bold. You can make them 12, you can make them whatever. All right, I'm not going to worry about the title quite yet. I'm going to make my other graphs right now and then go from there. So I'm going to click Insert, highlight the data. There it is. Insert, Scattergram, Scatterplot. Then you mess around with whatever form you want this one. I'm going to pick this one, but I want the color to be purple on this one. Then I click the plus sign, axis titles. Then I'm going to type in this stuff again. And then this one will be height in inches. I'm just hitting Control A for all when I do that, and that's how it's getting the whole title to be all selected. And then I'm going to make it big and bold again. You can fiddle around with these if you want. You can make them larger, smaller, depending on what you like. I wouldn't recommend smaller because you got to have your instructor read it, of course. But all right, there we go. I'm just going to move this one over. It doesn't matter where. I'll put it up here. There we go. And then I need one more. So insert, highlight the data. There we go. Insert, scatter plot, same one. I'm going to move it down here, pick my format. I like the bottom one, but you can pick, any one you like. It doesn't make any difference. And then color, and I'm going to pick a different color. I'm going to do green this time. Oh, that's not going to print very well. You know what? I'll do this kind of aqua blue. Because I got to think about something that's going to print up well on the printer. And then one more time, arm span, which is in inches. Oop, that came out big. So let me, in bold. And then make this one height. I did that by copying and pasting the title from before. And then I'm just going to go and make this smaller. There we go. And bold. Click on the bold. Or hit Control B. All right, we got our 3 graphs, so we're chucking along right here, right? And the same thing, of course, is going to be like how your graph is going to work. It's just you'll have to put in your own titles and things like that. All right, now I'm going to right-click, and I want to add trend line right in here. And then you have some options to pick from, and they show up over here on the right-hand side. So right now I have a linear trend line. I'm going to display my equation and my r squared right in my chart. And there we go. And then I don't want this anymore, so let me close that just so I can see what I'm doing. Move over here to the right, and I'm going to do it again. Right-click, add trend line. But this time I want an exponential one, so I'm going to click up here on the top one, and then display equation and display r squared. Click on both of those. Then we got that one. Then right over here, I don't have to make it go away this time because I can see everything. Add trend line. You want to click polynomial. You want order to be 2. Order means what's your degree of your polynomial, and we want a quadratic. So you want order 2. Right? That'll be a quadratic. Like if it was 3, it would be a cubic, but we want 2, which is quadratic. Display your equation, display r squared. Beautiful. Now we don't need this anymore, so we can close that. Now the thing about this is that you're going to have to print this and have your instructor read it, and this is really, really small. So I'm going to click on, what I did was I clicked on the whole box. See how it turns into that 4-pointed arrow, and you can kind of drag it over. Then I can make the font size bigger, and I can make it bold so I can actually read it. And then do it again for the next one. Home, bold, 11. And you can move it into that 4-sided arrow thing, and you can drag the whole area over. Because you don't want it to cover up your graph. Home, bold, and 11. And then see how it's kind of mushing into the graph? So I'm going to kind of move it over. All right, then I want to label each one of these. So this was the linear model for height versus arm span. Of course, yours won't be this title, but linear, putting in the fact that it's a linear model somewhere would be intelligent. And this one is the exponential model. Now you'll notice when it became that large, it kind of smushed the graph down. That's not necessarily a good thing because, of course, we need to print this out and have our instructor read it. So you can always just drag it so that it's farther to the right, and that way there's room for that whole word to show up. Right, all the words should show up, I should say, the whole title. And then I can go in here and paste again. What I did was I copied and pasted. So I had the title, and then I'm just changing that front word. So this is quadratic model. And again, that one's too large, so I'm going to kind of drag it over. I'm going to put this one under this one. All right, so we're pretty much done. The only thing is you have to know, 1, how to print it, and 2, you want to be just real quick, you want to notice this e to the 0.0231 business. When you see that, that's the e that you learn in class. You can use a calculator, but in part 8 of the project down below, it's going to ask you right here, it says to find that equation in a times b to the t form. And the way you do that is you got to find what e, like in my case, exp is the function for it. So you type equals exp. That means e to the. Then you type 0.0231, close your parentheses, and enter. And there's your letter B. So that would be what B is. Okay. So you'll have to do that for yourself for part 8. Because Excel doesn't do a times B to the T. Excel does this form right here, and with the E to the stuff, and then you've got to figure out what that is. And if that's too small for you, then make the font a little bigger, right? Nobody's stopping you from making it into 12 or whatever makes you happy, right? So you need it to print out nicely, you need to be able to read it, and your instructor needs to be able to read it. Nice to have nice labels and notation and everything. One more time. 12. Okay, so now I just need to print it. Well, you can do this a couple ways. You can either use up 4 sheets of paper or 2 sheets of paper. So to use 4 sheets of paper, you do what I already showed you in the table one, which is you highlight the table, go to File, and you want to go down to Print. Print, there we go. And then you have a choice. You can either print your sheet, or you can just print, click on Print Active Sheets and click Print Selection. And then it'll let you print just that table that you are highlighted. You could print and print and print, right? And then once you've printed that, then you go back, then you click on your first graph. So see how the linear one's highlighted? It's got the little plus sign next to it and all that. Then I go to File, Print, there it is, and I click Print. You see it's already selected, Print Selected Chart. And then I print that chart. And that chart takes up a whole page. And then I go back and do it, click on the exponential one, go to File, go to Print. There's the exponential one as its own sheet of paper. Then I go back, click on quadratic, File, Print, and so on. So every graph will be printed this way. So you'll have 4 sheets of paper, one for the table, one for the linear, one for the exponential, one for the quadratic. Now, if you're thinking, man, I don't want to use that much paper, you'll notice right here between the G and the H, do you see how it's got that line in there? That is where your print layout is. So I want to make sure I'm on landscape. Let me go to File, Print again. So if I click on, instead of selected chart, if I click, oh, here, I must have a, yep, I'm in a chart. You got to click on one of these cells to make this work. You can't be on a chart. See how I'm on a chart right now? See the plus signs there? You don't want that. So click on a cell, click on File, click on Print, and you can say Print the active sheet, and you can see that the graphs are showing up. Oh, but those graphs got kind of cut off halfway through. And I think part of the problem here is that I'm on Portrait, and I want Landscape. So I'm going to make it Landscape, and then it shows my work and everything. So there's page 1, which would have the table and the graph, the linear graph. And then page 2 would have the exponential quadratic model. And you can see it when you go back to, let me click this little arrow here. So see that line? Now it's between the J and the K because I switched my orientation to landscape in the print menu. So you can see all of this is going to fit on one page, and then over here, see the little dash marks around it? Then these are all going to fit on page 2. So you can move them around and nudge them around if you like, but they'll all fit in that page. And that way you only have to print 2 pieces of paper instead of 4. So either 2 papers or 4 papers, one way or another, print them, right? And you can check when you go to print, if you're going to do the pages, just 2 pages, you can see it's printing this nice and neatly, and then it's printing this nice and neatly. 2 graphs on one page, 2 graphs on another. Don't do less than 2 sheets of paper. Don't try to cram them all in one. It won't be pretty, and it will be hard for your instructor to read. And you never want to make something hard for your instructor who's grading your paper to read, right? Okay, so we're all done there. And then the rest of it, you'll just fill out, you'll use these models to fill out all your answers. Remember that you're using these numbers from your regression from the Excel, not from a calculator when you do your project. All right, we're all done.